Welcome to episode 113 of the AMP Wrestling Podcast. It says we're live here, Patrick. It's been a while since we did Melon. Let me check YouTube here. It's been a while since we did Melon. Yeah, we're live.
Yep, I hear it.
We are live. Hey, make sure you check out our AMP Amazon. What's the word that I'm looking for here, Patrick?
Link, URL.
Yes.
tinyurl.com/Amazon AMP. I've done it enough times now that I memorized it. So there you go. tinyurl.com/Amazon AMP. Just save it as a bookmark. And then anytime you want to go to Amazon, you hit that bookmark and just do your regular shopping. And we get a little bit of the, proceeds, It's almost like you're donating to charity in a sense, the wrestling charity or a wrestling podcast charity, so to speak. You don't pay anything extra. We just get a little bit of percentage of what Amazon gets from you. So would you rather go to Amazon, who already has more than enough money, or would you rather give it to us who need the money to help make this podcast just a little bit better?
And a little bit goes a long way, because most of the stuff that you're going to get on there is going to give us a commission of 4%, 3%. So, a lot of times it comes out to under $1, but, we get enough people doing that in the AMP Nation, and we can start funding some really cool stuff here. Maybe some trips, maybe paying to get some, old superstars on here for interviews or as a guest host when one of us is out. And speaking of that, we want to say we apologize. Last week we had a faux pas with our high school football game. So it kind of messed us up, and then we had to do college, we had to do professional. Now Patrick's doing volleyball, so we got a lot of things going on. That's why we're on today here, Tuesday as well. So we appreciate you guys sticking with us through this crazy time. But as always, you can always catch it on your favorite podcast network, iTunes. iTunes went away, didn't it?
I mean, Apple Podcasts, I think it's the same thing. So I have the Apple Podcast. That's what I use to listen to podcasts, and we're on there. So Apple Podcast, I believe Spotify. You can find us on there.
Google
Podcast. I'm not sure of any others, but I do know you can find us on Apple Podcasts. So that's the one I use.
Yeah, and then you can find us on Castbox as well. So, and iHeartRadio. So we'll be there on Fridays as always. Well, maybe not as always because of last week, but what we got going on in episode 113, Patrick?
All right, for episode 113 for Tuesday, September 28th, 2021, we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite Grand Slam and Rampage Grand Slam. It was a big week for AEW last week with those two big shows. We'll talk about those two shows. Also, another big announcement AEW made last week is the partnership with the Owen Hart Foundation, and that's a huge partnership. A lot of cool things are going to come out of that. We're going to talk about that as well. Also, this past weekend was WWE Extreme Rules. We'll talk about that as well. And then since our last podcast, there's been a lot of backlash from the dark side of the ring, the plane ride from hell. They also had the Chris Kanyon episode that came out, which I didn't get a chance to see yet. But the plane ride from hell had a lot of backlash, specifically with Ric Flair. We'll talk about that as well. And then also we have the rumor mill. What are WWE's plans for Alexa Bliss? Could Dominic Mysterio now be wearing a mask just like his dad? And also some rumors on Braun Breaker, who is the next, or at least seems like he's the next up-and-coming star in NXT, the new rebranded NXT. So we'll talk about that and everything else coming up here on the AMP Wrestling Podcast, episode number 113 for Tuesday, September 28th, 2021.
Find us on your favorite social media platform, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. We're there. Just search AMP Wrestling Podcast.
All right. So last week, huge week for AEW. They went to Arthur Ashe Stadium. I saw they were doing a lot of media in New York City. I seen a couple of interviews with CM Punk and Bryan Danielson that they did with Brandon Walker of Barstool Sports. So I know they were doing a lot of media, interviews and whatnot last week, really hyping up the Arthur Ashe show on Wednesday. I think it was all taped on Wednesday, And then, of course, Rampage aired on TNT on Friday night. But kind of start from the beginning here. Well, it all started off Wednesday night. First match was the match everyone had been waiting for: Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson. First time ever. I think is it the first time ever? I think these two guys meet in a wrestling ring. I think so, because I don't even know if Kenny Omega was really on the scene last time Bryan Danielson wasn't in WWE, which was about 2009 or something like that. I don't even think Kenny Omega was really on the scene at that point, but these two guys met for the first time. As Bryan Danielson's also first match in AEW is a non-title match. Really the most hyped match in a while for AEW, and they've had some big hyped matches in recent memory ever since they've come back onto the road with their shows. But it was about as good as you would expect it to be. They wrestled to a time limit draw. I knew Bryan Danielson was going to look really good. I mean, he's had a few months off, but as much ring time as he's put in over the years, take a few months off. That's not going to affect Bryan Danielson whatsoever. And then, of course, Kenny Omega's been carrying the company for the better part of a year now since he won. I mean, even longer than that. He was obviously, when he came aboard, he was one of the hottest wrestlers in the world, still is one of the hottest wrestlers in the world, one of the most popular wrestlers. As he came from New Japan Pro Wrestling, he really, shot up into stardom in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He came to America to join his buddies, the Young Bucks and Cody, and starting up AEW. And then, of course, last December, won the AEW World title from Jon Moxley. He's been carrying it ever since, and now they got the Elite. And so they're really, taking this torch and running with it. And now you got a guy like Bryan Danielson. And I really loved the build-up to this match because it was very simple. Bryan Danielson showed up and said, "You're not in my league." And we all know how good Bryan Danielson is. I mean, he's one of the all-time, I don't want to say all-time greats, but his body of work speaks for itself and how good he is, how good of a technical wrestler he is, and we know what he's capable of. As Cruz there in the chat, he's off today, so when we do Tuesday podcast, we get the pleasure of having Cruz join us in the chat. And Cruz, you join us at a good time. We're talking about the big Bryan Danielson Kenny Omega match from AEW Dynamite last Wednesday and how great of a match it was. But I really thought Bryan Danielson was going to win this match because it was a non-title match. I said, well, that right there, to me, in my opinion, kind of gave it away that, okay, Bryan's going to win the match. Obviously, you're not going to have Bryan win a championship in his first match, even though, in my opinion, you could get away with it because he's Bryan Danielson. But they had a great match, and it goes to a time limit draw because it was one of those things where I think people wanted to continue to see them wrestle. I mean, these two guys put on an absolute clinic. Even Jim Cornette, who is arguably one of AEW's biggest critics, and one of Kenny Omega's biggest critics, said that it's the best Kenny Omega match he's ever seen with Bryan Danielson. So obviously he's had some other classic matches that have gotten 5. Well, this match did get 5 stars. Dave Meltzer did give it 5 stars. But obviously Kenny Omega's had, I think, 6, and I think even maybe a 7-star match with Okada at one point. But Jim Cornette said it was the greatest match he had ever seen with Kenny Omega in it. So if you can take your biggest critic in Jim Cornette and even have him praise your match, then you're obviously doing something right. And it was a tremendous match. Would love to see these two guys wrestle again. I'm pretty sure they're going to wrestle again. I would not be surprised. A lot of people were talking about maybe them doing an Iron Man match, maybe let them go for an hour, see who gets the most pinfalls. I know Kenny's done an Iron Man match with Pac already, which in my opinion is still one of the greatest AEW matches ever, at least one-on-one matches, that is. And that was a really fun match. I remember watching that. And that was only a 30-minute match, Iron Man match. So maybe if they do it at a pay-per-view, they'll let them go for an hour. Who knows? But this is not over, certainly, this particular feud here. And boy, as far as I'm concerned, they're just getting started, and I can't wait to see what they do with these two guys.
You know what I don't like about doing our podcast on Mel and Patrick? We can't have a fluid conversation. It's like, I gotta wait for you to stop, and you gotta wait for me to stop, or it's just gonna cancel out all the volume. Cruz said only because BD carried Omega. That's what he said. He still won't give credit to Omega.
Well, I mean, hey, the thing about Jim Cornette, he's consistent. He has his story and he sticks to it, whether you agree with him or not. So, but you got to admit, he did give more praise to Omega for that match than he has probably any other match. And Jim Cornette makes a living now of critiquing AEW pretty much. I remember at one point he stopped critiquing AEW in his podcast, and I think his numbers started going down. People wanted to hear what he thought of AEW, so he had to go back, obviously, and give his honest thoughts on AEW. So he does that every week now. But nonetheless, the match was as good as expected. I mean, with those two guys, the expectations I don't even know if you can measure them, because some people just expect that they're going to see the greatest match ever inside the squared circle when those two guys come in there. And I'm not saying that match was the greatest match ever, but it was as good as expected. And I'm very anxious to see what else they do, how they, progress this feud here. And I'm excited about a possible Iron Man match. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I'm very excited about the possibility of these two guys wrestling for an hour just to see what they do in an hour time span.
And, like you said, I don't know if this is the first match between the two guys, but I'll tell you what, every time they come in there, you got to hear about Excalibur wrestling them in 2003 in Dusseldorf, Germany, or Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yeah, sometimes Excalibur, sometimes he finds a way to make it about himself, but whatever.
It's like he's always trying to get the rub off of all these other superstars. Like, dude, just shut up. Stop wearing a mask. Nobody cares about you.
Yeah, I mean, he's a decent announcer. That's the word I was looking for. There. He's a decent announcer, but sometimes he just says things, and I'm like, who cares? Like, just call the match, dude. Now, a lot of times I'm watching, like that match in particular, I wasn't even really paying attention to what the announcers were saying. I was so into the match itself that sometimes I'm oblivious to what they say. So it doesn't really bother me probably as much as it might bother other people, but that's just because I don't pay that much attention to the announcing. I'm more into the match, specifically Omega and Danielson.
And I tell you what, usually how I catch the AEW Dynamite and Rampage is on YouTube, where people put it on there like a few hours afterwards. And I guess Tony Khan and his team, they're making the screw you list because all these channels that used to post Rampage and in Dynamite, they've been taken off of YouTube completely.
Mm-hmm. Well, copyright infringement, bro. Hey, what you gonna do?
YouTube TV's wanting me to sign up. I keep resisting.
That's what I got, and I love it. I mean, it takes a nice hit to the wallet every month, but
yes, it does.
But I use it one for it because the DVR feature on there is like unlimited. So like if I miss an AEW Dynamite or a Rampage, which is on a Friday night during football season, I tend to miss more Rampages, so I can go back and watch it. And it's a really cool feature. And then I love and I use it for football season too, to watch college football, NFL. I got a Red Zone as well. So it's really you're getting a shameless free plug here for YouTube TV, but I enjoy it for the price. Like I said, it takes a little bit of a hit, but you get your money's worth, in my opinion, for what I pay for it, at least, or the packages I got.
Yeah, YouTube, you were built on piracy. Help us out a little bit here.
So anything left to add to Omega and Danielson? I mean, like I said, it was a great match. It was what it was. I expected. The crowd was super hot at the beginning of the show, at the beginning of the match. I mean, when they locked up, the crowd went nuts. So yeah, overall, it was a great match.
I liked how they had a slow build to it. They didn't just get after it, They just made us want it even more by just sitting there and waiting.
And I think now with the time limit draw, I think for a lot of people, including myself included, we want more now. We want even more. We want to see these guys go at it again. Like, what else do these guys have? Because in my opinion, I feel like as good as that match was, I know those two guys have so much more to offer in the ring, bell to bell, against each other. So I'm really excited about when those two guys step in the ring one-on-one again.
Yeah.
All right, the next match was MJF. He defeated Brian Pillman Jr. Not much to say about this match. I figured MJF was going to win the match. At this point, I mean, MJF is so, he's, I wouldn't say he's over as a heel for sure. I mean, no doubt about that. I mean, it's crazy because his parents were at the show and his parents made a sign. This was a funny picture. His parents made a sign, said something along the lines of, we're MJF's parents and we think he sucks too. And like MJF like retweeted his mom and was like, fuck off, mom, or something like that. So yeah, he really said that. So MJF's heel, persona is right now is at an all-time high in my opinion. But that I don't think much about that match. I knew MJF was going to win. I mean, no point in putting Brian Pillman Jr. over on MJF. Right now, I think they're starting to kind of build MJF to maybe get into the main event picture, so to speak. I mean, I know obviously he fought Chris Jericho at All Out, and that's somewhat of the main event picture. But maybe in a championship sort of way, it's gonna be sooner than later. I think they're gonna put MJF in a title picture. But right now, you got Kenny. I mean, I don't see MJF taking the belt off of Kenny. I don't see him taking the TNT belt off of Miro, but right now MJF, they're getting him ready to put some kind of gold around him or something. I know he's got the diamond ring that he always uses, but at some point sooner than later, in my opinion, MJF is going to be in a main event title picture or whatever you want to call it.
I love how in AEW, for the most part, like they're heels. They can almost say like anything. I mean, talking about his crackhead mom and talking about aborting him, and then going down there and talking to his sister and asking if it was his like dead daddy's baby. With incest, and the Max Caster says.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy how it's just sometimes you think, all right, when is you think MJF pushes it too far, and then he goes even further than that. So it's like, Jesus Christ. But I would think Max obviously gets the A-OK to say a lot of the things, if not everything he says, because of how, how controversial a lot of the things he says is. So, and I'm okay. Like I said, I've got no problem with anything MJF has done. I mean, the dude's playing that role to a T.
Of some interviews I've seen with Brian Pillman on YouTube, I don't think he likes his mom very much. So I'm pretty sure he welcomed the whole, mom zinger there.
Maybe so. Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, it was okay match. It was nice to see Julia Hart. She's always nice to look at. So
yes, sir.
In her little cheerleader outfit. So that was nice. But MJF with the victory there. The next match was Malachi Black and Cody Rhodes, and we did get a nice little surprise with Brandy Rhodes finally coming back after her. Yeah, Cody came out, did his grand little entrance, and then Brandy walked out one of the tunnels to a nice little pop, I think. And
what was she wearing?
What was she wearing? Honestly, I don't remember. I feel like it was kind of like an American kind of coat. First of all, I don't know if you saw Cody's cape he had on. This cape was like a half a mile long. It was wild. I mean, he obviously was a little extra with that cape, but he came out. Arn came out with him, and then Brandy comes out. So, and him and Malachi get in there, and they start wrestling, doing their thing. And of course, we all talked about, well, of course, now Cody's going to come back, put himself over Malachi and whatnot. There was a point in the match where the fans definitely started to boo Cody Rhodes. It was big time. And he kind of started doing some heelish things. And then there was even a point where I think Malachi threw Cody out of the ring. And then Malachi kind of sat like in the ring, Indian style, kind of like CM Punk does. And then Brandy decides to get in the ring and sit right across from him and just flip him off. And Malachi just laughs at her. And I'm like, what? Why? Like, I don't know why she got in the ring and just flipped them off. And
she likes the attention too.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. I guess she's been away for so long. She had to kind of make sure she got her 15 seconds in the spotlight there. But yeah, the fans.
Well, maybe it's like you were saying, because Brandy's always been kind of a heel. So maybe they're about to make a little heel faction. I wonder if he, gets with QT and he was like, we were playing you guys all along. And they reunite the Nightmare family and everybody's a heel.
Maybe so, but yeah, who knows? I don't know. I thought I read an article that said something about Cody Rhodes would retire. He said he would retire before turning heel. So, and there was a moment in the match where like he was beating down on Malachi, and like the ref tried to kind of step in and like he kind of shoved the referee. Like he didn't shove him, but like he kind of just shoot him off of him or whatever. So he kind of had a little heel tendency there. And thank goodness Malachi Black ultimately won the match. But so Malachi Black now 2-0 against Cody Rhodes. But I'll be curious to see how they do this with Cody. That the fans are, because obviously Cody, he puts himself over, tries to get the fans, cheering for him and everything. And they were not cheering for him on Wednesday night. So I'll be curious to see how they book Cody Rhodes if they do try to turn him heel, or how they play this, because the fans are booing him. I mean, it's blatant that they're booing him, and they might be giving him not necessarily go away heat, but yeah, go away heat, I guess is the best way to describe it.
You think Cody's booking himself like this, or it's like Tony Khan?
I think ultimately it's. I think Tony Khan gets final approval, but I'm pretty sure that, like, especially when it comes to Cody, since he's an EVP, that Tony, he kind of lets Cody like, all right, tell me what you got, what you want to do, and he might make like some small adjustments and say, okay, let's do this. Okay, we'll do it your way, but with my twist in it, like this, or whatever the case may be. So I think that's how it goes. I don't know for sure, but would a crew say, yeah, she does weird shit no one cares about, but let's not forget that is one fine ass chocolate mama. Yeah, she is fine as hell, but she can't wrestle worth a damn. And sometimes I think, and that's the thing. And you know what? And this is another thing too. Cody kind of got into it with Arn a little bit too at ringside during the match too, and because I think Arn got hit or something or knocked down, I think. And Cody went to check on Arn, and Arn got like mad at him. Was like, "What are you doing? Don't check on me. Like, stick to the match. Like, I'm fine. Like, don't worry about me." So there was kind of some animosity there a little bit. Yeah, I think I read another thing how I think Arn Anderson was like, "Yeah, I think Cody's gone a little too Hollywood or whatever the case may be." I think that's another thing with them too. They got their new reality show. I think that starts maybe this week. As a matter of fact, I might give it a watch, though. It looks like it might be good, but I think they're just trying to be too, like I said, Hollywood's a good term to use, too mainstream. And that's the thing. I don't know what they're trying to do. I think I don't know. Sometimes, and I don't want to accuse them of this, but they might be using the AEW platform to propel themselves into like some kind of Hollywood career or something beyond wrestling. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. But the fans are definitely not feeling Cody Rhodes, or maybe not even Brandy right now at this point. But I'm certainly all for some Malachi Black.
He wants to be AEW's version of The Miz. And like Arn Anderson.
Rock, even.
Yeah, Arn Anderson was on the outside of the ring going, dude, I'm not bitch made like my son. Get back in there.
So, yeah, that's how that match went down. But Malachi Black went over. Thank goodness. So, like I said, I'm curious to see how they book Cody going forward. Sting and Darby Allin defeated FTR by submission. Sting just continues to impress the hell out of me, man. That dude could still go. It truly is amazing. They put on a really good match there. I don't have really many thoughts on that match.
Didn't he give him a pile driver?
Do what?
Didn't he take a pile driver?
Yeah, he did. I think he did. Like, leading up, like the build up to the match, they had a segment where they came out and attacked him, and they did like he jumped off the. I can't remember if he got pile drive during the match, but definitely in a segment to build up the match, they did their little double team pile driver to Sting. Certainly in the build to the match.
Like, I want to slap whoever booked that in their face. Like, I know Sting is incredible, and he's absolutely gifted as an athlete, but he's 62 years old, man.
I think they're taking extra precautions for Sting, because I remember like when Brian Cage like powerbombed the hell out of him way back when he first got here. They were saying how like he wore extra padding. They actually extra padded that section of the ring just for Sting. So I think they're really looking out for Sting. And like I said, I feel like if I'm almost positive, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like they tell Sting, hey, look, we want to do this. Is this cool with you? I feel like they get the A-OK from Sting when it comes to doing things that could affect his neck, obviously, or his back or whatever the case may be, because obviously he had those problems that made him have to retire from WWE. But
thanks a lot, Seth.
Yeah. So I'm almost positive they probably check with Sting before they, say we're going to do this or we're going to do that. They check with Sting like, hey, you cool with doing this? And he probably says yeah or no or whatever the case may be. So,
well, I mean, of course he's going to say yeah because he's Sting. He's the man. But I mean, at the same time, he's 62.
Yeah, but I think Sting, like if he thought something wouldn't work or might harm him or might injure him, he might be like, hey, look, I really don't want to, I want to be, because I'm sure Sting probably tells him, hey, look, I may be at the tail end of my career, but I still got some mileage left on me. So I feel like this could take some of that mileage off. And I don't want to, he's not going to want to do anything that takes mileage off of him that he has left. See, Crew said you have to slap Sting because I'd be a shiny nickel. He was like, pile drive me. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, Sting's work in AEW is top notch. I applaud Sting, man. He's really going above and beyond, in my opinion, for AEW to help put this company out there. So, kudos to him. Let's see here. Where's my matches at? Okay, here we go. And then the main event for Dynamite was Dr. Britt Baker taking on Ruby Soho. This match to me, it didn't do too much for me. It was an okay match. It wasn't a bad match.
Ruby sucks.
I don't want to say she sucks. She's average.
Sucks.
She's average. She's not like
she's so
good.
Slow.
She's good, but she doesn't have that next level that's gonna make you go whoa. Like she's good, but. And I don't know. That's the thing. That was her only second or third match. She hasn't had many matches, obviously, in AEW. But what was that reaction for?
I mean, it's not like you're saying she hasn't had that many matches in AEW. It's not like she's coming fresh out of the Nightmare Factory, bro. She's been doing this for a while, and like I said before a few weeks ago, I don't remember her in WWE, which I think is probably a thing because she probably sucked then too. But I thought she was better than this, and when she came in the Battle Royal, and she did her thing with Thunder Rosa, and I'm like, they let this bitch win? She sucks. Thunder Rosa was right there.
Well, like I said, they put on an okay match. It wasn't nothing spectacular. Obviously, Dr. Britt Baker went over, retained the women's championship.
Thank God.
But like I said, somebody that I watched online, I listened to talk about it, kind of put it perfectly, I think, and saying how, on a scale of 1 to 10, you're always going to get like a 7 out of Ruby. You're not going to get that 8 or 9 or 10 out of her. Or you might, but typically you're always going to get a 7 out of her out of 10.
Yeah, no,
you're not going to get that next level. So,
God, she's so bad.
But yeah, that was AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, and then of course they had Rampage Grand Slam, which I didn't even get a chance to watch yet because I've just been so busy. But I'll go over that. CM Punk defeated Powerhouse Hobbs. I think I did see bits and pieces of that match. I mean, another great match. CM Punk's been putting on a couple of great matches so far in AEW. He defeats Powerhouse Hobbs. So CM Punk now, he's 2-0. He's starting to maybe build some wins. We'll see when they decide to put him in a title feud coming up at some point. The Super Click with Adam Cole and Young Bucks defeated Christian Cage and Jurassic Express via pinfall.
Who was with the Young Bucks?
Do what?
Who was with the Young Bucks?
Adam Cole, baby.
Oh, okay.
Is that why you asked? Because I didn't say Adam Cole, baby.
Yes, sir.
So it was Adam Cole, Bebe, and the Bucks that defeated Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. And then you had the Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, with Dan Lambert, who, by the way, is talk about a chicken shit heel to just like,
yeah,
he's really good on the mic. Like he's annoying, but like when it comes to drawing heat, dude, he knows how to do it. And like he doesn't fumble his promos, and he says like a lot of shit. Like,
yeah.
I'm very impressed with his promo skills. Like, I didn't even know who this guy was until I seen him on AEW. But the fact is that like he gets on a mic and basically shits on AEW. Like the way he executes it, I'm actually impressed. So I can't even be that mad at Dan Lambert. He's basically like, some people think they're using him to pretend to be like the Jim Cornette that's actually there and just shit on AEW. But
yeah, you remember back in the day when I used to try to push MLW on you like an ugly cousin of mine?
Yeah,
like he was in there with one of his fighters, King Mo, and he would do the same thing. He was so good. I wonder if some of his fighters are actually gonna wrestle.
Well, I know they got a little physical. I think they did get a little physical on Rampage with the Inner Circle, Jericho and Hager. So I don't know if they're gonna actually wrestle any matches, but it's and they got what's her name, Paige Van Zant there with. Oh man,
yeah, boy, she's doing bare knuckle fighting now. She's got too pretty of a face for that. Well,
she's obviously a good fighter, so she probably ain't got nothing to worry about as far as getting hit in the face. She's probably pretty good.
No, she got trounced last time. She was all really blue and puffy. Yeah, she got beat the hell up by this girl named Britain Hart.
Yeah. But I think some of his fighters did get a little physical Friday with Jericho and Hager, who's obviously an MMA guy himself. But Men of the Year finally get a win. I feel like they never. I mean, if they wrestled, it wasn't on TV. I think they maybe got some dark matches going for them, but I don't think that was their first television win in a hot minute. The new AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Lucha Brothers and Santana and Ortiz, they defeated the Hardy Family Office and the Butcher and which is Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn with Private Party, and the Butcher and the Blade as well. Penelope Ford defeated Anna Jay by pinfall. A little quick singles match there.
But that was hot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised they didn't have Anna Jay go over on that one. And then, boy, this is one I wish I could have saw. I might have to go back and watch it. But the Lights Out match with Suzuki Gun and John Moxley and Eddie Kingston. John Moxley and Eddie Kingston actually got the victory there. And I saw a couple of highlights from that match. Boy, I expected nothing less from those guys and going all out with that match. There's a reason that match main evented the Friday night. So
who's in Suzuki Gun?
Do what?
Who's in Suzuki Gun?
It's Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So there you go. But overall, these two nights, like I said, I didn't get to see much of Rampage. I'm going to go back and watch it. But based on I saw all of Dynamite. It was a great show. The crowd was hot. It seemed like everything went well for AEW. They've already talked about going back there next year. And I think Arthur Ashe Stadium was like, we'd love to have you guys come back even sooner than a year from now. So even Arthur Ashe
they would.
Yeah, Arthur Ashe Stadium was definitely, all for AEW coming back whenever they wanted. And then the run-in by Suicide. Yeah, I think I did read something about a run-in by Suicide there, Cruz. Like I said, I got to go watch. I've been so busy. I got to go watch.
Like Suicide from TNA Suicide? Like the guy that looks like a superhero? Maybe or the guy that was like in like LAX.
Well, no, LAX is I think LAX is Santana and Ortiz, but I don't know if they had a guy with him named Suicide. But
that guy's name was Homicide. I'm sorry.
There you go. Yeah, Cruz might be able to answer that question there in the chat for you there real quick. But
next Tuesday one, we need to get Cruz in here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This was kind of a last minute decision yesterday. I was like, hey, I'm busy Thursday. Let's do it on Tuesday.
You're gonna have to help me remember that because I think I got the CTE. I think I do.
All right. So, yeah, final thoughts on AEW, the Grand Slam shows. I mean, it was awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing if AEW goes into some other unique venues around the country. Like Arthur Ashe Stadium's obviously one that a wrestling show had never been in before. Curious to see if they do that with some other venues around the country. So I'm definitely glad that happened. I think it was a big event for a big success for AEW, and I'm no idea, saw clips, but it was Eddie Kingston's friend suicide. Okay, so that's what Cruz said. So, but yeah, AEW Grand Slam, it was a great success in my opinion. And speaking of a great success, I think this partnership with AEW that they just got with the Owen Hart Foundation is going to be a great success. They released a what they call that, a press release last week. It said, All Elite Wrestling and the Owen Hart Foundation, a non-profit charity which provides a vast range of assistance and opportunities to individuals in need across the world, are collaborating to honor the legacy of late wrestler Owen Hart, a beloved figure in the professional wrestling community and beyond. This collaboration includes launching the annual Owen Hart Cup tournament within AEW, which will see the winner receive a cup known as the Owen, as well as the production and distribution of unique and original Owen Hart merchandise, including specified retail goods, as well as the upcoming AEW console video game. I think I did read that when that console game comes out, Owen Hart will be a playable character in the video game. So you can play as Owen Hart, which, as far as I know, that's never been done in a WWE, at least, since Owen died in '99. If there was any games that came out before that, obviously I guess Owen would be on it. But since then, I don't know if Owen's been on. Well, I think he might have been on a couple of games as like an unlockable character. But yeah, this is gonna be pretty cool to play as Owen on this new AEW game. And Cruz said, "Oops, I fucked up. It was Homicide." So it was Homicide. So there you go. Homicide and Suicide. Two different things here. You gotta distinct the two. But yeah, the partnership with the Owen Hart Foundation, AEW, I think that's a big move for AEW, because obviously they don't want to partner with WWE. They don't want nothing to do with WWE. So why not AEW? And that's exactly what we're gonna get. So I'm really excited to see what kind of things come to fruition with this partnership with the Owen Hart Foundation.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it's a great thing because they're doing great things, and Owen Hart is really beloved by the wrestling universe. But once again, what another power play from Tony Khan to whip out his wiener and just tell Vince, just kiss it.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. Just kiss it.
Just the tip. Yeah, just the tip. Yeah, Tony Khan, man, and then now, being back on the road, they're making that money again. So yeah, man. And his wallet's already pretty nice and thick. Yeah, it's pretty nice and thick. So yeah, when you get that money, man, you can make a lot of big good things happen.
He's the modern day Scrooge McDuck, just swimming in that money vault.
Yeah, you're right. He's like somebody said, it's like he's a rich guy with all the wrestling action figures, and he's just playing with them. Let's see. Now, this is what Cruz said. Let's be real. That Brody Lee tribute show might be the most important show they ever did. Yeah, that's the most. I guess it's debatable as far as important show. The most. I don't know how to describe that show. It was very. I don't know. What else Cruz said? People signing because of it, getting Owen Hart shit. Yeah. Yeah, but that Brody Lee show back in December, that might have been the greatest tribute show in the history of wrestling. It was well done. I mean, it was the most, in my opinion, it could have been booked any better than it was. I mean, it was, and it's arguably one of the most important shows they've done. Obviously, how the locker room handled the Brody Lee situation was a big factor in getting CM Punk over to AEW. So I know that doesn't really go with the show, but things like that, they know how to handle stuff like that. And that's really telling about how they run things over in AEW. So it's debatable whether it was the most important show. But it was definitely, I mean, if you want to talk about one of the top 5 more memorable AEW Dynamites ever, that's easily in the top 5, maybe top 2 or 3, depending on who you ask. But yeah, so I don't even know where I was now. We were talking about I think we were wrapping up the Owen Hart Foundation talk and whatnot. But that's really a great.
And we were talking about Tony Khan's junk.
Oh yeah, getting Vince to kiss it. Somebody had a big sign at I think it was at Grand Slam. It was a big sign on the upper deck. It said Vince fears Tony.
Oh snap!
Big old sign. Yeah, I don't think Vince fears Tony, but
yeah,
at some point he might. Maybe not right now, but he might. He might at some point.
You know, somebody said the other day, I can't remember who it was. I wish I did, but it was somebody intimate with WWE, like still works there or worked there for a long time. They said, you know, McMahon gets his rocks off on competition. So they were like, just wait to see what he has in store because now he knows it's on.
Yeah, I did see Bubba Ray Dudley or Bully Ray, whatever you want to call him now, did tweet out something about how, you know, when Vince has that competition, he's happiest and he's like, Yeah, he will perform his best. I mean, he's not really performing, but you get what I'm saying. He's going to bring his all when he's got that competition. The stronger AEW gets, the more Vince is going to try to outdo him. And sometimes it'll work, sometimes it might not. But and I tell you what, as of late, I know the WWE product has been kind of falling off, but they're showing some signs of a little bit of promise. I will say that. I mean, they're starting to kind of do some things right. Speaking of, it's a good transition into Extreme Rules, the review from this past Sunday. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into it from the list I have right here in front of me from Reddit. I don't think these matches happen necessarily in order. Actually, they might have not in order. But we'll start with the pre-show. Liv Morgan versus Carmella. Liv Morgan got the victory. It's actually a huge pop. Crowd went crazy for her to get a nice little victory there over Carmella in the pre-show. And then in the main show, you had the New Day versus Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Omos. The New Day won that one, and that led to last night, I think Bobby Lashley and Big E fought for the WWE Championship. And Big E still WWE champion. I think they had wrestled a match, and then next thing you know, this is another good thing about, you know, WWE, how they're kind of starting to do some good things now. They've reunited the Hurt Business with Bobby Lashley, Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP, which is a group that should have never been broken up in the first place. They got them back together, and now they're talking about the fans won like a 3-way feud with the Hurt Business, the New Day, and the Bloodline, of course, with the Roman and the Usos. Which, my goodness, give me all of that. I'm intrigued about that. But yeah, so Extreme Rules. The New Day defeated Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Omos, and then the Usos took on the Street Profits for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. The Usos retained those titles as well. You had Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair retains there. And I think they actually killed Lily, her little doll there. So, and now Alexa Bliss apparently is going to be off of TV, but I think we're going to talk about that maybe in Rumor Mill coming up. But RIP to Lily, as she is now done. And hopefully Alexa Bliss's little gimmick is done, since, you know, the Fiend is not there. So what's the point of Alexa Bliss continuing the gimmick she's got going on now? Hopefully when she comes back, she is the goddess yet again. The United States Championship was a triple threat. Damian Priest, Jeff Hardy, and Sheamus. And Damian Priest actually retained. And a lot of folks are saying how, you know, this is the best NXT call-up that they have booked on the main roster in a while with Damian Priest. I mean, they're like, he's always winning. He's always on top, and like, he's not getting buried or anything like that. Like, they're really pushing this dude, and they're pushing him at an exceptional rate. They're not pushing him too much, but they're pushing him just enough. And obviously, he had the great match with tagged with Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. Now he's the United States champion. So they're really doing some good things with Damian Priest, and I think they are really setting him up to kind of be the next wave of main eventers on the main roster, at least on Monday Night Raw. So,
well, I just checked. He's 39 years old. I mean, you can't wait too long to push this guy if you're going to push him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around the business for a while, and he's at his age right now, which he seems like he's still in great shape too. He still has at least another good 6 years. And usually guys in good shape like that, they can go till they're about their 45, and then they can still obviously wrestle after that, but they might start losing a step every year or whatever the case may be. But he may not, so we'll see what happens. But he's been doing good things in WWE. The WWE SmackDown Women's Championship, Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, that was actually ended up in a disqualification. Becky Lynch won. I think Sasha came out, and first of all, I didn't watch Extreme Rules because Peacock is straight garbage. But yeah, Peacock is trash.
Straight dumpster fire.
I had it for SummerSlam, and then I got rid of it after that. I'm sorry. The WWE Network, I know they're throwing them $1 billion, but the WWE Network was so much better than Peacock. It's unreal. But so I didn't watch it, but I did see like Sasha came out and got interfered in the match, and now it looks like they're going to maybe set up like a Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks triple threat somewhere down the line. Should be pretty interesting there. And then the main event, go ahead.
Cruz says that he was fantastic in ROH, and yeah, I remember hearing the buzz about him in ROH. Damian Priest we're talking about, but he had such a cooler name. What was his name in ROH?
It was Punishment Martinez.
Yeah, that's right. I guess ROH owned that. I don't know. Punishment Martinez is such a cool name.
Damian Priest ain't a bad name.
No, it's not.
But yeah, Punishment Martinez. Yeah, because I remember hearing about him even before he was in WWE. So yeah, he's always been around, and he's always been a really good player in the game. But yeah, and also the WWE Universal Championship. It was Roman Reigns taking on the Demon, Finn Balor, and the big talk out of this match was the fact that I think Balor went to the top rope, was going to do the coup de grace, and the turnbuckle came loose, and Balor fell, and Roman ultimately won, and now the Demon's 2 losses are to 2 Samoans named Joe. So the only way you can beat the Demon is if you're a Samoan named Joe, apparently, in WWE. But, so yeah, and now they announced that we're going to get Roman versus Brock at Crown Jewel. I think I don't know if it's in late October or early November, but so we were wondering if, Brock they were talking about maybe Brock was going to show up at Extreme Rules. I don't think he did though, but he's next in line for Roman. That should be a very interesting match.
Well, I wonder since they're going to blow their wad on this match at Crown Jewel, if the Prince is bankrolling Brock Lesnar coming back.
Yeah, that's more than likely that's what the case is. So, the Prince got that money, man. He's forking over.
Yes,
he's forking over all sorts of dough for all the big stars. But yeah, that was Extreme Rules. Actually, I heard overall it was a good show. One of the comments I saw someone on Twitter was saying how a lot of the wrestlers were really working their butts off. Some of the booking obviously was questionable, but with how specifically with how Balor, the whole turnbuckle thing that was just kind of wild. But
did it look like it was an actual flub, or did it look fake as hell?
I guess it's up for interpretation depending on how you see it. But I did see the video clip, and it's hard to say because I didn't see it live, and when I watched it back, I knew that obviously it was a work, so it was hard to really judge it without watching it live. So I can't really, comment on it. But it looked legit. The turnbuckle came loose, and Balor took a fall, and that part looked, legit, I guess you can say, but I
don't understand why they're poo-pooing on the Demon. That's such a cool gimmick, bro. And now he's really losing. Cool, yeah. He's done as he can't come out as a Demon again.
I mean, he can. I mean, obviously, you lost to Roman Reigns, and there's no shame in losing to Roman Reigns, especially now.
But used to, when he came out as the Demon, you knew that was your ass.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And now it's like it's not special anymore.
I mean, it's still kind of special because it's not like they bring him out every pay-per-view. They only bring him out in special situations like, against Roman for the Universal title. Cruz said the Fed poo-poos on all supernatural characters. We know this. Yeah, I mean...
That's Chris Canyon.
But, I mean, except The Undertaker. I mean, The Undertaker was, in my opinion, considered supernatural. And, obviously he's one of the all-time greats. Maybe nowadays they poo-poo on him, though. So, yeah, the whole turnbuckle thing was obviously the point of interest or talking point of interest, at least after that match. But if you're the Demon, you can shake off a loss to Roman Reigns. I mean, Roman's beaten everybody that they put in front of him over the past year and then some. And
that's why he's your tribal chief.
Yeah, I mean, he's putting in the best work of his career right now. There's no denying that. So,
oh yeah, this gimmick, this whole heel run, top notch, long time coming.
Oh yeah, they needed to do that a long time ago, and now they pulled the trigger on it. It's working wonders for them. All right, let's move on now to the next topic of discussion: the dark side of the ring, the backlash that people are getting because of the dark side of the ring. And well, Cruz said one more thing: they changed his gimmick midway through his career. How is that not a poo-poo? Who's he talking about? Is he talking about Finn, or is he talking about
Finn? Yeah.
I don't know if they. Well, I don't know. That's the thing. Because that's the thing about gimmick changes in WWE. I mean, obviously.
Oh, Taker.
Oh, Taker. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thought because I feel like obviously he was in the Ministry of Darkness and the whatever in the 90s, and then he came back in 2000 as the American Badass. And granted, The Undertaker had been around for like 10 years at that point. So I don't know if that was a Vince thing. I don't know if Taker might have said, hey, Vince, let's try this for a little while. And that lasted about 3 or 4 years, and then they went back to Deadman. And I'll be honest, the American Badass gimmick for The Undertaker, it worked, in my opinion. Bro. Especially at the time. For some reason, it just worked. And he came back as a face, and I think the majority of that, he was a heel. For a lot of that run as well. It might have been 50-50 back and forth. But I tell you what, I was thrilled, though. I remember in 2004 when he came back as the Dead Man, I was so pumped about that because at that point, I started watching wrestling in 99. So I didn't get much of the Ministry of Darkness Taker. The beginning of my wrestling watching career, I got more of the American Badass Undertaker. And then, so when he came back in 2004 as the Dead Man, I was like super pumped to see the Undertaker as the Dead Man. So, but yeah, Dark Side of the Ring. Speaking of the darkness, Dark Side of the Ring. So the Plane Ride from Hell episode came out a couple of weeks ago. I actually watched it, and boy, I know they've had a couple of seasons of this stuff already, and I guess have you seen any of the Dark Side of the Ring episodes at all?
Oh yeah, almost all of them.
I've seen bits and pieces of them here and there. I think I might have watched a couple of them all the way through. Has there been any more negative backlash from an episode than the Plane Ride from Hell episode? I mean, that's...
No, the only one that could have had some backlash like that, but the guy's dead. It was the one about, Jake the Snake and his family because his dad was a pedophile, but he's dead. And, and he was, Grizzly Smith, he was a big wrestler back in the day, but he's dead. So he can't take the heat. So I guess people were like, well, I mean, there's nobody to throw this heat on. So Flair is still alive and kicking. So he's just the internet's punching bag.
Yeah. I mean, he got, he got pulled from like endorsements and obviously WWE. And that's the thing, WWE let him go. Like a few weeks prior to that episode coming out, it makes me wonder if maybe they knew something. Maybe they were like, hey, Rick, this is about to come out about you, and it ain't going to be a good look, so we're not doing anything with you. Might as well just let you go. And obviously he showed up with Andrade at AAA Mania against Kenny Omega.
And he showed up at this NWA pay-per-view.
Yeah. But since all this came out now, I don't think anyone really wants to touch Rick, as bad as that is. I mean,
why would they? It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I guess at this point, what's the point in touching Rick? I mean, no pun intended, but it's man. Then there was so many other crazy things that happened on that flight. I mean, Scott Hall was like passed out, just out of it. Michael Hayes, the ponytail got clipped, and Brock and Mr. Perfect fought on the plane, and apparently Vince was in the front of the plane the whole time. Like, it's crazy how Vince was on the plane, and all this stuff still somehow went down.
But you know what? That's what wrestling was back in the day. It was
this was in 2002, by the way. Like a lot of people were. I saw some people that were kind of like shocked at how this was just in 2002. Some people were like, "Man, I thought that was in the 80s or something like that, or the 90s." It's like, no, that was in 2002. Which, granted, 2002 was still a much different time than right now. It was almost 20 years ago, but it's crazy to think how, not that long ago, it really was compared to what a lot of people may have thought is when that actually went down.
Yeah, back then it was all about alcohol, pills, and dick helicopters.
Yeah, and, obviously I watched the whole thing. They were on the tarmac for like a handful of hours, and then they finally got on the plane, and they were already like pissed drunk and messed up when they got on the plane. Then they had the 7 or 8 hour trip back over the Atlantic. So, man, it's when they came out with, I think this is season 3 of Dark Side of the Ring. When they came out with the list of episodes, I saw the plane ride from hell, and I was like, that one seems interesting. So I kind of looked into it, I read about it, and I was like, well, I can't wait for that one to come out. And when it came out, boy, and then another thing that happened too is apparently, Tommy Dreamer was in some hot water because he kind of defended Flair, in that episode, and he got suspended by Impact. And now I don't know if anyone's going to touch Tommy Dreamer because he defended Flair, and probably not the smartest move on Tommy's part, but I don't know. I guess he didn't realize he was going to get such backlash from it.
Yeah, but you know what? Tommy's old school. He's going to protect the boys. Rob Van Dam, he's been his own man the whole time he's been in the business. He's just going to tell it like it is, and God bless him. But I tell you what, I was talking with Mark Mailer the other day, shout out. And, of course, he was back in the day when we used to be with the Gorilla Position crew. He was one of the writers for the Gorilla Position, so he knows a lot of people in the biz. And they said, it came from an anonymous source, but they were like, why isn't anybody talking on this episode how terrible of a human being Dustin Rhodes was at this time in his life? He said he put Flair to shame. and they made Dustin seem kind of like a hero, even though he was a drunken idiot and singing to Terry and stuff like that. The stewardess was like, he's the only one that came to shove Rick off of her. Yeah. But apparently around this time in his life, he was a dog.
Yeah, and I mean, back then he probably was he was drinking alcohol, taking the pills, and doing all that stuff too. And that could do some damage to a person, mentally for sure, and turn them into somebody that they're not. But it seems like he's obviously a much better person now. But I think a lot of people, they go through those times, and it was a crazy episode. I mean, there was so much to digest from that episode, and then obviously the stuff with Rick. You don't want to. Rick's one of the all-time greats, and you hate to hear that stuff about a guy like Ric Flair, a guy that a lot of people looked up to, that want to be like him, and then you hear stuff like that, and it's like, man, it's unfortunate that. Assuming it went down the way it did, I wasn't there. Rick's denied it. I think it said on the episode, Ric Flair has denied those allegations. But then the flight attendant says she has her side of the story. Rick probably has his side of the story. Assuming that what happened. It's unfortunate, and it sucks that something like just one incident like that. It cast a shadow over the career that Ric Flair had. So
Yeah, and you know what? If anybody out there is listening and, just like Tommy Dreamer, you had Ric Flair's back on this. How far it went with the stewardess, we'll never really know for sure. But one telltale sign is the WWE paid this chick to shut up about it. And she did for a long time. Her husband told her to take the money.
Yeah.
So the WWE knew he was in the wrong. So how far was he in the wrong? Was he just, barricading her in, or did he actually grab her hand and make her touch his wiener? I mean, we don't know for sure, but we do know that the WWE gave her some hush money.
Yeah.
And, Flair, just like you said, it sucks to hear that our heroes were like this. And just the fact that he put a woman in that position that is a stewardess. She's not a rat. She didn't go to a wrestling venue and want to get called to the back to F you down. This is a stewardess just trying to give you drinks and food.
Yeah, this was
She's not a
do her job. It ain't like somebody that ran up to. And now they did say that they were partying, obviously in between, because apparently they flew on the way there with the same crew that they flew back with. So I don't know if Rick at somewhere in between maybe got a little comfortable with her in between the tour and partying, and because apparently they were partying and drinking and going out during the tour. So nothing was really mentioned about that, but
she also said something about along those lines. She was like, you think back and you think, was I too friendly? Did I smile too much? You start to second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Terrible situation.
Yeah, very unfortunate. But yeah, so if you haven't seen that yet, go watch it. It's a very interesting watch, and like I said, a lot to digest. But let's go ahead and jump now to Rumor Mill. We got some Rumor Mill stuff. You got there. The first one is WWE's plans for Alexa Bliss. So what you got for us?
Well, Alexa Bliss will be off WWE television for a few months, says Wrestling Inc. The site doesn't mention why, but speculation is to move on from that stupid-ass Lily gimmick.
Thank God. Praise the Lord Jesus. We want the goddess back.
Definitely.
That's what we need. So I want the blonde hair down. I want the old theme music. I want the goddess. I want her coming out just looking
like Harley Quinn.
Yeah, looking as sexy as ever. I mean, she still looks good with this new gimmick, but she looked way better with, as the goddess. So, all right, the next one we got is, could Dominic Mysterio be wearing a mask? We are in a pandemic, so I guess it wouldn't be it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Apparently, the old man, Vince McMahon, is receptive to the idea of Dominic Mysterio donning a mask, turning heel, and claiming to be superior to his dad, per WrestlingNews.co.
Now, see, I thought they were going to maybe make him wear a mask and obviously team with his dad. And they match. They both wearing masks and whatnot. And maybe because obviously Ray's on the tail end of his career. And, maybe... it would signify a passing of the torch. Dominic, you're the next generation of Mysterio. So, you're about to don the mask and whatever the case may be. But if you have Dominic turn on Ray, I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that.
All right, let's see. Regarding speculation about why Rick Steiner is now Braun Breaker, or Rex Steiner, is now Braun Breaker. A WWE source told WrestlingNews.co that Vince McMahon has no issue with Breaker's uncle, Scott Steiner. And a big reason Big Papa Pump isn't in the Hall of Fame is because Steiner's often said he doesn't want to be inducted. And PW Insider says the name change was just so that WWE could control the trademark.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Greedy
WWE can be in control of it. They'll do whatever they got to do, and we know that they are not shy about changing names.
Yeah, let's not use this great bloodline of the Steiners. Let's just change his name completely.
Yeah, but apparently they're pretty big on him. I mean, they're pushing him already. It seems like to the moon in the new rebrand of NXT. I mean, he's already got the win over LA Knight, and they really. I really think they're going to push him to the moon. He's going to be the next big up and coming star. And he looks great in the ring, by the way. I've seen a couple of his matches already. He looks phenomenal. It looks like he's going to be a star, but all I got to say to Vince and crew, do not drop the ball on this guy. You got everything you need right there in front of you. Don't drop the ball on him.
That'd be great if when he goes up to the main roster, it kind of like how, Dustin broke kayfabe when WCW wanted to send him out as this new character named Seven. You remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, that'd be great if he was in the ring. He was like, I am tired of this dumbass name, Braun Breaker. My name is Rex Steiner.
Well, Braun Breaker is not like the worst name. It's better than Seven. Like, Braun Breaker actually is not the worst name in the world. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm very anxious to see what they do with him because, like I said, it seems like they're very high on him. He looks great in the ring. I think he, obviously, he's still a little. He's new. He's new in the business, but he's got the bloodline there. He's got the look. It looks like he's got the skills there and everything. Hey, just got to polish him up a little bit, and we could have a big star on our hands before you know it.
That's right. Well, Patrick, that's another show in the can, son.
Yes, sir. Maybe we'll try to see if we can do it in person. I know we got a lot happening with our real jobs and a lot of moving around going on, but we'll see if we can maybe try to do it in person here. I got all the equipment here with me, but
well, we need to try Facebook Messenger next time because I think our conversations may be better on Facebook Messenger because for some reason when we try to interject with each other, this just totally cancels out the audio for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a little bit of a delay there, but it ain't much of a delay. It's just we'll try it. We could try it with Facebook Messenger next time, see how it goes.
Yeah, and just throw it on OBS.
Yeah, well, I got it here. So, do you have it on your computer?
No.
I'm about to say, get Dustin to let you. You never really messed with it though, huh?
No, I wouldn't know what I was doing, dude.
Yeah, I might have to see if I can get it to work over here for me. We'll have to get that a little test run and see how that works out.
Thanks to Cruz for showing up. Patrick, you got to remember next time we do a Tuesday, we got to throw out the invite to Cruz as well.
We're going to be doing another Tuesday show coming up at some point this month because I know there's going to be another Thursday or two where I'm going to be busy with other things and we'll have to move it to a Tuesday. So Cruz, be on the lookout in the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks. So we're going to have another Tuesday show, and we'll definitely shoot you an invite to come on and talk some wrestling with us.
Find us on your favorite social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Just search AMP Wrestling Podcast. Patrick, get us out of here, son.
Outro.
This looks totally different from the... Oh, there it is. Looks totally different from the paid version